Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and we do have a blower going outside. If you hear a blower, it's because we have a blower outside. It's not in my yard, it's the neighbor's yard, so you may not hear it. You may get lucky there. Check it out. BRIC, this is something that hasn't been pointed out, I don't think. BRIC, 6 members of the BRICS are in the top 9 largest oil-producing countries in the world. Of course, this one being the big one, because this is the death of the petrodollar right there. Okay. Check this out. This is a video that I ran a while back, and it's important for you to watch it to really understand what's on the line right here.
When, not if, the petrodollar system begins to crumble, the dollar will begin its death spiral. Right now, America has a permission slip to print all the dollars that it wants to print. Why? Because the world needs dollars to buy oil. It's that simple. So the Fed just prints away, knowing that the global demand for U.S. dollars and for U.S. debt should remain strong enough to prevent hyperinflation. However, when OPEC and the other major global oil players decide to pull the plug and finally denominate their oil sales in another currency other than the dollar, the artificial demand for the dollar will decrease. The U.S. will be stuck holding a lot of worthless paper dollars that no one needs anymore.
Hyperinflation.
Which will ultimately lead to massive inflationary pressures on the U.S. economy. Don't think that this won't happen. Foreign governments are acutely aware of America's economic problems. Knowing this, many of them are biding their time by actively looking for alternatives to the U.S. dollar-denominated assets for investment purposes. In the months and years ahead, other global currencies will be strong competitors for these same global investment dollars. When the petrodollar system collapses, it will lead to astronomical interest rates and the end of the U.S. dollar. So with all of that in context, consider this week's report by the New York Times about China and Russia moving away from the dollar. According to the report, the two countries opened direct trading between the Chinese yuan currency and the Russian ruble, thus allowing them to completely avoid the U.S. dollar in their bilateral trade. Among their imports and exports that will avoid the use of dollars? Oil. Friends, Russia and China are pioneering a move away from the U.S. dollar. The collapse of the dollar is coming, but it's not here yet. So now to answer my earlier question on when the dollar will collapse. The dollar will completely collapse when the petrodollar system collapses.
What have I said for years now, folks? XRP and gold. That's why Glint's one of my sponsors. I buy gold in my Glint account, and I have a debit MasterCard. I can literally spend it. When everything hits the fan, you better believe I'm going to be glad I got my Glint account. The link's in the top of the description, and but that video right there really captures it, and this does too. Just so happens mortgage rates just hit 7.23%, the highest since May 2001, folks. This could get really, really ugly. And I am shocked. What I'm shocked by is that you haven't seen a real estate collapse yet. And when you do, that's going to cause a further cascading of a nightmare. We've been here before. Now, check this out. This is Danelle Dixon from Stellar talking to this lady from Franklin, the CEO of Franklin Templeton. Listen to this.
Doing great. So what can we in the blockchain and crypto space learn from someone who has been in this space or been in the financial services space for as long as you have, and we can maybe do a little differently?
In the end, this will be regulated. It's frustrating. There's not clarity. It's always hard to, if you're playing a game and you don't know what the rules are, that can be difficult. But I think we have to, work constructively with the regulators because it's coming, right? Because it's going to be the core to financial services.
You got that right. Now, check this out. GateHub has teamed up with the Sum Wallet to provide an on-off ramp for XRP if you want. GateHub is old school. I don't know if many of you won't remember this, but I do. Back in 2015, when Ripple used to have something called Ripple Trade, where you could actually have your XRP on Ripple Trade, which I did. I had it on Ripple Trade, and that's when they had the 2015 FinCEN settlement where they had to pay the $700,000 fine, where XRP was called a currency, a virtual currency. At that time, Ripple sent out an email because they had to shut Ripple Trade down, and they said you had to move your XRP off. They recommended GateHub. So I sent my XRP at that time to GateHub. It's not, I haven't used that account in years, but I did have one there at the time. In fact, that is where, at that time, I had lost faith, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong about this whole thing, and I figured because of the FinCEN thing, maybe things did not work out the way I planned. It was sitting on, I literally, when the market took off the next time, I literally caught it in the news and went to see if I could still had my password to get in GateHub, and luckily I still had it. I was able to get in, see it. I eventually moved it on to a different place, but that's my GateHub story. But GateHub is doing something interesting. They have a $1 million protection plan that where my understanding is that your crypto would be covered up to $1 million, and it's Lloyd's of London insurance. Now, I think it might have a cost attached to it. I haven't really looked into it all the way yet, but I'm going to, and you should too. Check it out. Now, Jeremy Hogan had made a comment about, it was in a thread, and I caught this. He said a couple of things. The pending request for appeal, he's talking about the SEC appealing the Ripple ruling. The SEC obliquely signaling its willingness to drop the charges. The embarrassing witnesses Ripple will call, and a couple other things X doesn't give room for typing. Anyway, he makes a very good point that I don't think we've talked about on this channel, but it's a huge point. Do you know what would happen? You know the Pandora's Box. Let me write that down. Pandora's, we'll call it the XRP Pandora's Box, okay? Do you know the XRP Pandora's Box that it would open up if they got to start calling the witnesses? Think about all the people that we've covered in ETHgate that we know were either involved or in communication with a lot of people that were involved. And I'm not an attorney, but I just started to create what my witness list would be if I was Ripple. Can you imagine the freaking train wreck disaster that would go down? This is just the start of my list. Mike Novogratz from Galaxy, Andrew Keys. Remember Andrew Keys and Joseph Lubin? They were the two people from Consensus that Charles Gasparino had talked about in his video back in May 2018. That's what brought Charles Gasparino into this case in the first place, is that video. He didn't even know what he was covering, I don't think, back then. But they were saying that they were meeting with the SEC and the CFTC back then. Katie Hawn, I think she's been totally untouched in this thing. She would be on my witness list. Jay Clayton, Bill Hinman, Tushar Jain, and Kyle Samani from Multicoin Capital. Those are the two guys that shorted XRP and bragged about it publicly, and they also have as two of their limited partners Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures, who were both in the room for the Ethereum free pass discussions. Chris Dixon from A16Z, he's the guy that Jay Clayton originally met with at Andreessen Horowitz headquarters, and he's the one that put together the venture capital working group, and Lowell Ness, their attorney, who eventually wrote the memo that became the Ethereum free pass speech, okay? Then we've got Nancy Wotas, who I think is one of the good guys in the whole situation. I think she was operating in good faith. Lowell Ness, Dax Hansen was also there. And also, here's the list. Here's the list of people that from the Freedom of Information Act request from Empower. I'll tell you another guy I would love to put on that list. Remember Stephen Narioff? He was the legal inventor of the utility token and ICO. That's per his LinkedIn page. He's the guy that said that their attorneys told them that they would be selling the illegal security, and his job was to keep them all from being put in jail. And he created this idea of ETH as a fuel or whatever, just a bunch of BS. Anyway, that's the beginning of my list. Actually, I think that, Jimmy Valley said, here's, these folks were at the SEC as well, so they would be on Jimmy's list. Okay, there's Jay Clayton, Jennifer McHugh, Michael Seaman, Brett Redfern, Gary Goldsholey, Heather Seidel, Dahlia Osman. Oh, the witness list the XRP community could help Ripple put together. Speaking of Mike Novogratz was at the top of my witness list, and I covered this in my last video that about Galaxy and FTX. They're wanting Galaxy to help liquidate the $3 billion crypto holding, and I thought that CoinDesk, they had to be thinking when they put out the pic. They happened to use the picture of Mike Novogratz with his snake jacket on when they put out the article. Interesting. And so is this. This is from John Deaton's law firm. Still an open question. Why wasn't it appropriate to investigate Jay Clayton's financial interest when he filed the XRP lawsuit on his last day, then immediately was hired by a hedge fund that made a $1 billion bet on rival tokens 3 months earlier? Just in, the mystery $3 billion worth of Bitcoin wallet has been revealed to be owned by Robinhood Markets, the same company that's being rumored to be listing XRP soon. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that it's way past time to take the trash out in this country. Thanks for listening.